You made it. Welcome back everybody, Sol here. I'm just gonna say it, Berserker does not need dodge cancel recoveries, unless Peacekeeper gets it too. And honestly, let's not forget about new shit too. This buff Berserker, quite frankly, came out of the blue. Seems like Ubisoft is doing the impossible challenge of not giving dodge attack cancels to every single hero. It's funny because they recently just buffed Peacekeeper and gave her slightly different and better recoveries after her bleed riposte, which helped her a smidget in Dominion where she can repossession ever so slightly if she decides to attack somebody or peel for them. And then in a span of a month, they have an intern over there who is a Berserker main suggest, why don't we just give an already strong hero with hyper armor chain mix-ups, 400 ms hyper armor lights, and an overall solid hero that has a high skill floor while retaining a high skill curve. Oh, and also let's just buff his HP by 10. Berserker is a hero that does incredibly well in matchmaking lobbies. He used to be a top tier pick for competitive players, but that was when power creep wasn't a thing. He has scary hyper armor to take trades and can mindlessly keep attacking just like Raider, which is great for new players. With hyper armor and unreactable lights, he has all the tools to dish out reliable damage. Power creep is present in every new character we get. The more hyper armor, unblockables, and pins we give heroes, Ubisoft has no options to make a hero viable in competitive For Honor unless they slap in dodge cancels and sprinkle in a little bit of feightable bashes here and there. Isn't it okay to not make every single hero competitively viable? What do you guys think about this? I have never heard anyone say that Berserker was a weak hero or needed dodge cancel recoveries at all. Maybe except for Barakit. Would he need something to be competitively viable in the Dominion series so that he would get picked? Probably. Dodge cancels would bring him up pretty high up in the tier list, but I think other heroes would definitely outshine him still. Now again, I'm not necessarily against it, but if it's just going to be dodge cancels on everything, we might as well just give it to the rest of the assassins too. Now Berserker's playstyle revolves around him chipping opponents down with his unreactable chain lights and landing those unblockable heavies. He needs to think if it's safe to trade or if he should just let things fly, especially in team fights. Since he doesn't have the ability to dodge out of every single move, he needs to time his feints and heavies methodically, otherwise he will take a lot more damage than he needs to, unlike Orochi, his other brother from another mother, who can just external dodge attack and dodge into safety to reposition himself. This goes for Jang Jun as well, since his Sifu stance gives him stamina back and has iframes to keep him relatively safe in the midst of battle. With the addition of dodge cancel recoveries on every single move, it's safe to say that I think Berserker will be Beyblading in Dominion and we'll see even more hyper armor than we have now in addition to Medjay and Jang Jun. The thing is, I'm not totally against Berserker having dodge cancel recoveries on everything, whether it's 100 to 300 ms into a whiff or a hit. They need to be consistent with giving assassins dodge cancel recoveries because that's what they're kind of there for. You can't just give Peacekeeper this pathetic buff and call it a day, then give Berserker an infinitely 10,000 times better dodge cancel and say it's just fair balancing. It kind of does look like bias, but I know that's not true because the devs don't know what the heck they are doing most of the time. They just throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks. This also includes our girl, Shaman. When does she get dodge cancel recoveries? Can you answer me that? Riddle me that. Let me know in the comments if you guys actually do want that for Shaman. I will say that they buffed her recently by speeding up her side soft feightable light attacks to 400 ms, but that's really only helpful in the dual aspects. She still lacks range and lacks the ability to really peel well for her teammates. Even Peacekeeper has a better peel with her forward dodge heavy. Zerker also can peel with his forward top light. How will they make her competitively viable? She has a gank set up already with her bite. Will they speed up her bite animation just to make it so that she can perform it at the highest levels? I sure hope not, because it's one of the most unique animations in the game. They could also add hyper armor, which would be pretty interesting. With Nobushi coming back to the meta with the iframes and improved recoveries, it might bring Shaman back to an extent, but probably not because Shaman isn't that great of a team fighter. She's more of just a ganker. I'm also glad that they brought back Gladiator's unbalance on his toe stab, but he already had easy gank tools that keep him in the top of the meta. Other assassins like Peacekeeper will never be meta because they have no range, no strong ganks to perform, and no dodge cancel recoveries like our boy Orochi. Orochi and Berserker both do relatively well in matchmaking if you understand the gist of high level and For Honor. Peacekeeper, you really need to be using that smooth rain of yours or you'll be taking hyper armor and unblockables and full block heavies all day. That I can promise you. With dodge cancels on Peacekeeper and Berserker, these heroes will be able to get those sweet and sexy external deflects, or what I like to call accidental deflects, but more importantly, it'll keep them safe in battle, making Reflex Guard a bit less tedious to deal with. Here's the thing though, most of you probably already know Berserker already has dodge cancel recoveries, but that's only on whiffed attacks. Not necessarily, but it does have a place when it comes to, sort of mixing up your opponents, spacing them out. But with this new dodge cancel recovery that's going to be added within every single attack, that means he will be a lot more safer in team fights. And honestly, it's going to make the game look pretty retarded in my opinion. We're going to see more characters flying around just like they're dancing with Tiandi's ballerina skills. Ubisoft gives dodge cancel recoveries to make the hero easier to play, that's a fact. This, in conclusion, allows new players to feel like they're doing something and that their hero isn't a worthless sack of potatoes. I'm sure any new player who picks up Peacekeeper and thinks that, oh, this is a really cool looking hero, and dives right into Minion is going to write a negative review on Steam, while a person who picks up, a Chad hero like Orochi will deem that this is the best game ever made. I think it's important to have a hero that is strong to pick up, but it will also make a player that has mastered it look kind of like a chump compared to a new player in my opinion, because this game is mostly all just reads. Dodge cancels will start to force you to pick up heroes that have full blocks or crushing counters to negate their external attacks, and sometimes these games can feel unwinnable because you picked a weaker hero. Fortunately, I think this has a lot to do with single pick, as if you see 2 Jane June or 2 Raiders, you know you're in for a hell of a time. That's why in competitive you'll see single picks and bans on certain feats, and heroes like Shinobi for a set period of time. But the thing about competitive games in general is that competitive players will always find the easiest, efficient, and abusive tool to win their games. It's not about fun necessarily, it's about winning, and they'll do whatever it takes. Take a look at the last Dominion series. We had people who were cheating and playing on multiple accounts to win their games. That's what it took, because Ubisoft wasn't enforcing their age rules. Even if there are 8 viable heroes, there will always be just around 4 heroes you will see in competitive For Honor. The only way we can have every hero be viable for competitive play is if we give all heroes literally every single tool, just like they are doing with Afira, the new Arabic hero. She has every tool except for a full block, which only resides within her tier 2 feat. Dodge cancels that feel like Shinobi, undodgeables, unblockable heavies, fadeable neutral bash or chain bash, and a wall splat heavy, just to give her a little bit of an edge. The only thing she is missing is hyper armor, but in my opinion, she doesn't even need it since she's got all those bases covered already, being a relatively safe hero. I will say she does give a new perspective on chasing opponents with that very long range bash attack, which is absolutely crazy, and no other hero really has that besides of course our boy Berserker. If you've seen Berserker, you've seen all my clips before, you'll do that forward top heavy and it will track you for days. It's actually insane and quite hilarious at the same time, and I feel like that's kind of what they implemented into this new character's kit. This will lead us to a game where everything feels the same and no hero will be unique anymore. I believe some heroes should have weaknesses and some strengths so it feels more team oriented, and so heroes complement each other and have some synergy. Remember when Nobushi and Shaman were meta? Well, it's because they assisted each other. One would guard break for a bleed, one would hit stun, and then one would go for the bite. I like it when things were a little bit more simpler, and even during those times there was still a lot of technical plays. But obviously you can't just reminisce about the old times because games should be changing. The For Honor devs want to make this game more competitive and also change it into a new direction as each dev keeps getting replaced, or a dev that leaves just doesn't want to deal with For Honor bullshit anymore. And in all honesty, I'm sure each dev has their own path that they want to pave forward for Honor. With damage values being lowered significantly, the Shaman and Nobushi gank weren't as prevalent in the meta. We started to figure out that guard breaks would confirm heavies and also bashes would confirm heavies. Since more pins were introduced to the game, we tried to figure out a way to guarantee those attacks so we could finish off enemies faster and generate more points. What's the end game and what's your honest opinion on this? Whether you are a competitive player who wants your favorite hero to be viable against the top tiers, or you're someone who wants a hero to remain like they represent the best of For Honor with just simple tools to their kit that keep them viable even against the new heroes. You'll probably have to use your brain a bit for these heroes, but it feels a little bit more rewarding in my opinion. All in all, I'd still like to hear your thoughts on the matter because this is a very slippery slope that Ubisoft has been treading for a while. Each new hero or rework that we get has explosive mix-ups that keep you on your toes and honestly will change how a hero will be forever. Valkyrie's old kit has just literally been sacked, and I know a lot of Valkyrie players are upset about this, but there's new Valkyrie players that have bandwagon onto her and are absolutely destroying the masses. At the end of the day though, I think it's fine if Berserker gets these changes, but only if the other assassins get dodge cancels as well, because we might as well make every hero the same. It'll make Peacekeeper and Shaman a lot stronger. Unfortunately, that's just what they're doing right now with characters to make them a little bit more viable or make them a little bit more interesting, because dodge cancels do open up more plays for your hero and help you stall a lot longer on points. That'll be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the Berserker gameplay and my commentary on this matter. There's a lot of crazy things that have been happening, but I think it's overall a really good change, and I feel like For Honor is becoming a little bit better of a game and somewhat more enjoyable, besides the fact that everyone keeps rage quitting, especially console players for some reason. Well, I already know the reasons, because they don't want to deal with the bullshit. Because as soon as they come up against a team that actually confirm attacks, which a lot of good players usually do nowadays, and unfortunately it's just something you have to do now in this meta. You kind of just get destroyed and they leave because they're like, why do I just keep getting destroyed when I go into a 1v3 setting? Riddle me that. And in 2022, For Honor has just become a game that's incredibly competitive now. You need to play in a 4-stack or with another player that really knows how to gank well. Otherwise you lose a lot of points and you don't kill efficiently, and that allows people to stall for time. That's just how the devs have started balancing the game, and unfortunately that's what we're stuck with. So please, console brethrens, try not to feed too much revenge and go into a 1v3 situation. I'll have a new video coming out maybe after I make a video on the new character, where I try to help new players or just veteran players that don't quite know how to play the game as well, because I do have 4,000 hours, and I'll be giving you guys the best tips to succeed in For Honor. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. The box is going to bed now. Bye bye. See you later.